Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Today, we've got a full slate of updates to break down for you. This is the 117th episode of Hawks Latest, presented by FanArt. So, hopefully, you guys have been enjoying the ride. I know I have. We are a few games into the regular season, and like I said, we've got a lot to break down. There was a lot that went on this past weekend that we haven't had the opportunity to cover. So, I'm going to break down all of really what happened. The Hawks are, starting to reveal some of their early season identity. We haven't seen a whole lot just because they've been dealing with injuries, but from what we've seen, we can kind of gauge where this team is at least for right now. I mean, they've shown flashes of promise, definitely some moments of concern, and but aside from that, I mean, definitely a few bright spots, and it's going to shape how this team may look moving forward, as the season kind of progresses and we get into some more important games. So a lot to unpack. Atlanta had a bounce back win against the Orlando Magic after their very tough opening night game. They've also suffered a tough loss to the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. So we're going to break down both of those games in today's episode. We're going to take a closer look. That's really hard to say. I don't know why. Closer look at rookie forward Asa Newell. He has kind of been killing it. He wasn't someone who we expected to be in the rotation this early in the season, but with the injuries Atlanta has had to deal with, Asa has kind of stepped in and killed it. So we have to talk about his impressive emergence because it's truly been fun to watch, and he's going to continue to grow in his role moving forward. And then finally, at the end of today's episode, we're going to preview tonight's matchup against the undefeated Chicago Bulls. They have kind of had a very interesting start to the year. Definitely better than most would have expected. So they're kind of hot right now. They're kind of a team that's looking to make some noise in the Eastern Conference, and that might not have been what people expected out of them really this offseason and going into the season. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it and start with the game against the Orlando Magic, which was the second game of the season for the Atlanta Hawks, and it was after that tough opening night loss to the Toronto Raptors where the Hawks got killed. I mean, they were getting killed in transition, really just in general. I mean, Toronto just outplayed the guys, but they were looking to kind of reset the tone against a familiar opponent, the in-division rival, the Orlando Magic, who obviously had a very impressive offseason. They definitely made some moves to propel them to the top of the Eastern Conference. They're another team through 3 games now. They haven't necessarily met expectations, but once again, the season is just beginning. We can't really gauge, where these teams are going to finish at the end of the year after, literally just 3 games. But it was going to be a fun matchup regardless because, a lot of expectations for both of these franchises going into the season. It's the first time these two teams have met since the Eastern Conference play-in tournament, which did not go the Hawks' way. It definitely left like a sour taste, after we didn't think we were gonna necessarily make the playoffs and make any noise in the playoffs last year, but getting into the play-in and then losing like that in the play-in to the Orlando Magic, and then having another chance against the Miami Heat, and still not capitalizing, and then ending up missing the playoffs. It definitely was a little bit of a disappointing way to end the season, but both of these teams were looking to make early season statements, and the matchup did not disappoint. It was very entertaining, regardless of if the Hawks were to win or not. I enjoyed the game, but Atlanta did come away with that 111 to 107 victory to even their record at 1-1. So definitely a gritty, hard-earned win. That it wasn't in their hands from the start. I mean, this was a game where they had to come back. They showed some much-needed resilience and kind of gives us a little bit of optimism going forward into the season because competing with an Eastern Conference team like that, a team who many expected to be better than Atlanta this season, and that's a very important win that could be crucial down the line. This is also the first of 2 games over the weekend for the Atlanta Hawks, and they knew exactly, what kind of team they were facing. Orlando is a team where we know their identity. Regardless of what offseason moves they made, they wanted to stay true to the identity that they have of just, being a physical basketball team. They play with a real physical edge that, is always designed to make opponents uncomfortable. And Orlando did that. But Atlanta's offense was, at the end of the day, better than Orlando's defense. And Trae Young actually acknowledged this Orlando identity in his post-game interview after Atlanta sealed the win. I mean, he said, they make you work for every inch. You've got to be ready to take hits and respond. And respond they did. The Hawks were down as many as 14 points in the second half. So, at times it looked a little bit out of reach. But this was a game where I didn't necessarily think it was over when a lot of people thought it was over. Now, I mean, I'm certainly, less optimistic, watching these early season games because, I know that down all the players that they've been down, it's going to be a little more difficult to pull out games like this. But I was pleasantly surprised with the win. I mean, that was super impressive. They when they were down as many as 14 in the second half, they erupted with a 15-0 run in the fourth quarter, and that completely flipped the game. I mean, everyone was kind of connecting on all cylinders. And it was the best run Atlanta had so far in this season. I mean, they looked pretty good. This is like get a glimpse into what we may see down the line when this team develops a little bit more chemistry and the season just kind of progresses. Atlanta outscored Orlando in the fourth quarter 33-21, and they shot 5 of 8 from deep while holding the Magic to 0 for 8 from 3. So definitely encouraging stuff there. The defense looked the best it's looked all season, and the offense and the 3-point shooting is something that kept up in the next game against the OKC Thunder, which we're gonna break down that game in just a minute. But I mean, even a guy like Trae Young, who against the Magic, I mean, he kind of struggled through much of the night. But in the fourth quarter, Trae Young did Trae Young things. He stepped up when it mattered most. I mean, he's one of the clutchest players in basketball when you really give him the opportunity to be himself. He scored 11 of his 25 total points in the fourth quarter. So definitely showing up when it mattered. He drilled the go-ahead 3, and then he also hit a clutch floater with under a minute left. Definitely like a classic Trae floater. It's his biggest weapon really. And the last time the Hawks had that playoff run, he kind of has lost a step with his floater over the past few seasons. So, I mean, it's looking like he's starting to get that back this year, which that's truly back. That is going to open up everything for Atlanta's offense. It's going to really be beneficial down the line. He hit that floater with under a minute left, and he ended up sealing the game at the free throw line. So, I mean, just dominating offensively. And Orlando really had no answer for him during that run, and then also just in the fourth quarter in general. He finished with 25 points and 6 assists, also 2 steals and a block. I mean, Trae's been decent defensively this year. He shot 38% from the floor and 83% from the stripe in that game. So, decent splits. I mean, not really where we want them to be, but, Trae always starts the season off shooting pretty poorly. But, it's just a matter of getting out of that slump quickly and then just, kind of sticking true to your game plan. And I mean, Trae will be fine. This is a guy who, like I said, this is every season. But the story of the night against the Magic was not just Trae. I mean, rookie Asa Newell, who we have a whole segment on later because he's had some very impressive play so far in his young NBA career. He made his NBA debut in the game against the Magic, and he knocked down a pair of key shots down the stretch, which really helped ignite Atlanta's comeback. I mean, it was a real momentum sequence. He only had 5 points in his NBA debut, but it was on 2 consecutive baskets. Both were actually assisted by Trae Young. The first one was a corner 3, so very first NBA shot, just let it fly from 3. He hit it, and then the next one was in transition. Trae threw a lob to him, and really it was like I don't remember if it was like a no look lob or what it was, but I remember it was a lob in transition, and it was pretty impressive because Trae didn't really have an exact guide to where Asa was. He just kind of threw it up. That kind of trust in a rookie, is a great sign for what's to come because, I mean, those two look to have a great connection, and that's a great sign for Asa Newell, who's playing in just his second NBA game in this Magic game. Defensively, though, the Hawks forced 21 turnovers in this game. They converted those into 20 points, so definitely capitalizing on the opportunities there. The defense looked great. Dyson Daniels didn't have a great stat line, but his defensive presence in this game, I mean, it was unmatched. His impact goes way beyond the box score. It was a major factor in closing the gap. Orlando's poor free throw shooting also was something that came back to haunt them because Atlanta really capitalized off of that. I mean, they shot 65% at the line. I know, to start the game, they were 3 for 10. Their first 10 free throws, they only made 3 of them. It was something absolutely ridiculous. As an NBA team, having that type of production for the free throw line is crazy. As much as the Hawks have struggled shooting the ball just in general this season, especially through the first 2 games, it's never been that bad, especially from the line. So the win from the Hawks against the Orlando Magic was not perfect basketball in any way, but they showed resilience. It was gritty basketball. Getting a win against a physical in-division rival like that, it's very important. And for an early season statement win, it's exactly what Atlanta needed. And they had a little bit of momentum going into the second game of the weekend, which was on Saturday, and didn't necessarily carry over the entire night. But it was against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champions, the best team in the world. It was an interesting game. The Hawks faced the defending NBA champion OKC Thunder, severely shorthanded. They were missing two guys against the Orlando Magic, where they still got the win. It was actually two starters. It was Zachary Rizichet and Kristaps Porzingis. But the issue against Oklahoma City, before the game, Jalen Johnson was ruled out as well with also an ankle sprain, the same thing that Zachary Rizichet had. So they, in this game, against the best team in the world, were missing three starters. So, the odds were definitely not in Atlanta's favor from the jump. KP was still out with his flu-like symptoms. And the result of that game was an 100-117 loss. That, kind of exposed some of Atlanta's depth concerns and defensive lapses. To their credit, though, the Hawks did not, roll over. This was a team that fought, especially in that first half. It was a pretty good first half, honestly. They shot the ball really well. Things just kind of unraveled in the third quarter, as they usually do. I don't know what it is in third quarters, but, nonetheless, they impressed for a little bit. But, yeah, it got out of hand. But, that's to be expected. We were missing three starters. The Hawks were moving the ball well early, and I really want to highlight the first half while we're talking about this game because, they tallied 16 assists in that first half, and they finished the night with 25 total assists. The defensive issues have really been what has been holding the team back so far this season. The offense has not looked great so far this season, but the defense definitely has not been as advertised, and you can also say that this is because, the guys have been hurt. Having a guy like Porzingis only playing one game so far is definitely not good for the team. It's the second chance points really have been a major thing. Atlanta has been terrible on the offensive glass so far this season. They've also been turning the ball over, and honestly, it hasn't just been Trey. Usually, Trey has been pretty bad with his turnovers, but that's because he's a high volume point guard, a high usage guy that's always making these tough passes. So obviously, his turnover numbers are going to be up. But honestly, this season they haven't been up. Against the Thunder, he did have 5 turnovers, I think, which was a season high. But in the first 2 games, he had 1 turnover and then 2 turnovers. So he's taking better care of the ball this season, and that has been good to see. But in this game, the Thunder shot 46% from the floor, 38% from 3, and an impressive 90% from the free throw line. The Thunder are definitely good at the free throw line. Shea only shot a few free throws, but still, man, I've always been neutral about Shea and the Thunder and the way they are whistled, and obviously Atlanta was going to lose this game without the refs aiding OKC, but man, sometimes that is a little hard to watch. Shea is literally on the floor every single play, but and then again, without that, Chet Holmgren was kind of killing the Hawks, and I don't even think they were defending him too poorly. I thought Mo Gay and company did a pretty decent job on him, but he was making some tough shots from beyond the arc. I think he made his first 4 threes. I think he started the game 4 of 4 from beyond the arc, but he ended up with 31 points, and 14 of them came in the first half. He was killing it. That was pretty impressive. He also got dunked on twice. That was pretty funny. He was dunked on by Onyeka Okongwu on that might have been Atlanta's first points of the game. I don't know if it was definitely one of our first buckets of the game. The crowd went crazy. Onyeka literally killed that man under the rim. That was definitely fun to watch. And then shortly after, Mo Gay on a fast break just yammed on him, and that was great. Getting Chet dunked on twice in the game, and then he actually went to the locker room after that, but he ended up coming back. I think he dislocated his finger or something, and but it was kind of funny because literally they went to the locker room right after Mo dunked on him, and he was dunked on for the second time of the night. But one bright spot for Atlanta was Onyeka Okongwu, the guy who did poster Chet Holmgren, and not just because of that though. He's had to step into the role of the starting center for Porzingis now in 2 games this season. He has been the starting center more than Porzingis has so far this season, and that's not just because he's outplayed Porzingis, which honestly he kind of has. But KP hasn't been healthy. He has been suffering from those flu-like symptoms. And at first we kind of assumed that it was just, they were load managing him. They were getting him back into playing shape. But after missing 2 games, it causes a little bit of concern. But I do think KP will be fine. We're going to see tonight, and I'm going to break all of that down, the injury report and everything, in the last segment when we talk about the Hawks game today. But Onyeka posted his first double-double of the season in this game against the OKC Thunder. He had 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists, showcasing his all-around abilities, plus one of, like I said, 2 highlight reel dunks that had the crowd buzzing. Another positive in this game was newcomer Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who, I mean, he has been huge for Atlanta so far this season. I mean, he has been like, he's had like the highest shot volume on the team, which is a very surprising development. He continues to look like the Hawks, like one of our most reliable two-way players, because he's had to step into that starting role for Zachary Rieseshay now in 2 of the 3 games this season. So he's playing in a bit of a role that he wasn't expecting to have going into the year. But he ended up scoring 17 points on 60% from the floor and added 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. So just real two-way ability, showing everything Atlanta wants to see. I wish he was shooting the ball a little bit better, because he's taken a lot of shots. So I'd like to see him hit at a higher rate. But still, though, he's been reliable on both ends. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Naw experience so far. You know what I haven't enjoyed so far is the Luke Kennard experience. He is not shooting the ball. I don't know why. He's getting decent looks. He's being very hesitant, though. He's always catching the ball on the wing and then doing his little head fake and then driving to probably around like the free throw line and then kicking it to either the wing or the corner. It's been very frustrating. Like everyone is like, when he's getting the ball, everyone's like screaming to shoot it. Going forward, I really want to see his 3-point volume increase. In the game against OKC, I knew that it was the second half, and he didn't like attempt a single 3 in the first half. Even though he might have gotten a couple decent looks, but he let it fly a little bit in that second half. I think he took like 3 threes. He made one of them, but we definitely need to see that 3-point volume from Kennard increase, because at the end of the day, like, it's good that he can handle the ball, and that is definitely another positive, but we need this guy shooting the ball. I think Trey is going to grow a little bit frustrated with that if he doesn't just continue to let it fly, because he's statistically one of the best 3-point shooters in NBA history. So, I mean, that's what you're here to do. As for Trae Young, though, Trey also had, like Onyeka, he had his first double-double of the season. He had 15 points and 10 assists. And, the box score looked decent, but it was clear, down 3 starters, and, really just after the third quarter, that Atlanta lacked the firepower to keep up with a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. A pretty much healthy OKC Thunder team. I mean, they didn't have Jalen Williams, who is a big piece for them, and definitely they don't win a championship without him, but I mean, they still, even though Chet Holmgren and Casey Wallace were on the injury report, they ended up playing, and then, Atlanta getting their injury report. That really just kind of killed any hope that me or any other Hawks fans had going into the game. Still, though, amid the rough outing, I mean, against a team like the Thunder, we saw glimpses of what this roster could become, once it's healthy and it's cohesive. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. I'm excited going into tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls, which we'll break down in just a minute. But before that, I want to highlight someone who had a very big impact on both of these games that I just talked about, but I didn't necessarily highlight him because I wanted to highlight him specifically in this segment, because one of the biggest storylines of the weekend, really, and maybe even going forward, depending on what the injury report looks like tonight and also for future games, the emergence of rookie Asa Newell. Not many had expected him to see meaningful minutes right away. I mean, coming into the year, it was clear that he was buried behind several veterans and bigs on the depth chart during preseason. I mean, even a guy like Mo Gay or maybe even a guy like N'Faly Dante. Actually, originally he was kind of buried behind N'Faly Dante, but I think he's kind of progressed past him now at this point after playing 2 games where he had a major impact. Injuries have kind of opened the door for an Asa Newell to make an impact on this Hawks team earlier than expected, and it's really paid off. He's made the most of his opportunity and then some. Against Orlando, that first game of the weekend, Newell checked in for just 4 minutes, and so it wasn't a whole lot of action for him, but he made an immediate impact. The best stretch of the game against the Orlando Magic came when Asa Newell hit the floor. Right when he checked in, he scored 5 quick points, hitting a corner 3, assisted by Trae Young, and then finished the lob, assisted by Trae Young. We kind of talked about that earlier when we were breaking down the Orlando game, but that kind of stretch of plays helped Atlanta swing momentum late in the game, and that is what really aided the comeback. They don't come back and win that game without that sequence from Asa Newell, so he certainly made that possible. And Quinn kind of recognized that, and I think in the next game against OKC, he wanted to go ahead and let Asa play extended run, because just see what you got from a guy like this, especially with the way Atlanta's been struggling on the boards. I mean, Asa has shown that he could be a pretty good rebounder in the NBA, and also the early chemistry with Trae Young is really special. It could be be one of the most intriguing developments of the season. Not many rookies build, that trust with a star guard so early. But, I mean, Young has no problem finding him, whether that's in the corner for a three or throwing a lob to him or just locating him on the court wherever he's at. I mean, he could become a very reliable option for Young and the rest of the Hawks offense. In Newell's second game against OKC Thunder, here's where it looks a little more interesting because he played real NBA minutes. He had 25 minutes in that game where they ended up losing, but he played a very steady role. He recorded his first career double-double in his second game of action. He had 12 points and 10 rebounds. And the best thing about this game was that he went 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. So, this was kind of a concern, out of the draft for Asa Newell. Not many people believed in his shot. I believed in his shot. I thought that was always going to be something that developed because he has a very nice form. It's a high arcing shot, and he has the confidence to let it fly. I mean, he had confidence at Georgia to let it fly. He didn't shoot the best percentages, but he continued. He looked like he had a higher 3-point volume even in summer league, and then just really in preseason he was letting it fly, and then now he's letting it fly even more. And Quinn Snyder is going to love a guy like that because especially when you've got guys on the team that are right now hesitating for whatever reason, Asa Newell has shown that he is not going to hesitate. He might even have a hand in his face, and he's going to shoot that three, and he really might make it. I mean, he is shooting awesome from beyond the arc right now. I mean, it's been outstanding. His confident shooting from deep, like I said, major surprise to many, but for those who have watched him closely for quite some time, it comes as no surprise. And really just this level of production, not even just his three-point shooting, but the level of production that he has been showing through just 2 NBA games, it's no surprise. He averaged 13.5 points, 8.3 rebounds, and, this is in Summer League, and then also in Summer League, he shot 43% from deep. So, I mean, he showcased a real, ability to connect from beyond the arc at a high rate. And so, this is like something that's going to carry throughout his career. I don't expect him to continue shooting like he has been shooting, just at a 66.7% from beyond the arc, at that clip. That's definitely not sustainable. But, I mean, if he can shoot 40% from three in his rookie year, we're looking at someone who could be a starter. I'm not saying this season, but down the line, that's not ridiculous to say. Through 2 NBA games, Newell is averaging 8.5 points and 5 rebounds, and like I said, shooting a very outstanding 66.7% from beyond the arc. So it's early, but if a guy like Asa continues trending this way, and the Hawks keep having issues, with depth and injuries in the front court rotation, I mean, Asa Newell could quickly carve out a steady role in this lineup. I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think he has really shown massive improvements really just through training camp and through his first 2 NBA games. And I think Quinn Snyder is going to love that. His blend of length, ability to let it fly, and composure, and just looking comfortable out there. It fits perfectly into what the coach kind of wants from modern forwards. And I love what I've seen from Asa, but, I definitely want to hear what you guys think about Asa's performance. And before we end today's episode, we need to break down what we are going to see tonight. The Atlanta Hawks are back in action for their 4th game of the season. It's going to be the first of their extended road trip of their first extended road trip of the season. They're going to be facing an undefeated Chicago Bulls team who are actually sitting atop the Eastern Conference at 2-0. That's a bit of a surprise. I forgot who the Bulls have suited up against, but they are 2-0, and they've looked pretty good. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Atlanta tonight. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern, so definitely a little bit of a later tip. And, of course, the early season standings do not tell the whole story, but, I mean, this Bulls team looks legit. They look more competitive and disciplined than they have in recent years, and when you look at their roster, I mean, it doesn't look very impressive on paper, but, the cohesiveness, it's there. This is a lineup who they look like they can fit together, and they've always given Atlanta a little bit of trouble. I remember who they played. They played Detroit in their opener, and they got by them, and then they handled Orlando convincingly. So both the Hawks and the Bulls are teams that have beaten the Orlando Magic, so it's going to be interesting to see those two go head-to-head. But, beating Detroit is no simple task. I mean, that is a tough Detroit team, and the Bulls looked pretty good against them. Their defense has been elite so far, and this has been kind of the strangest thing that has come out of the Bulls' first 2 games, because they don't look like a very good defensive team on paper, but they've kind of been killing it. They're actually first in points allowed. They're third in opponent field goal percentage and first in opponent 3-point percentage. And this might not be a recipe for success against a Hawks team that currently ranks 29th in scoring. So it's going to be a real test for this Atlanta team. This third youngest team in the NBA, Atlanta Hawks. It's going to be a tough task for them to go into Chicago and get a win tonight. So, while on paper, it's the Chicago Bulls, not many expected a lot out of them. This is going to be a very tough matchup, and it's going to be very telling. If the Hawks can get at least like one or two of their guys back tonight, because Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, and Zachary Riza-Shea are all listed as questionable before the game tonight. If we can get one or two of those guys back, and you can go into Chicago and you can beat the Bulls, it's going to be very just kind of convincing in terms of like where we expect Atlanta to finish at the end of the season, because it's, like I said, very tough Chicago Bulls team. Atlanta's offensive numbers have been disappointing, and this is why it's going to be a little bit tough against the number one defense in the Eastern Conference. 25th in field goal percentage is where the Hawks stand right now offensively. They're 23rd from 3 and 15th in assists, and it's a bit surprising because this is a Trae Young-led team who's struggling offensively, but it's not as surprising when you look at who has been playing for the Hawks in the past few games. I mean, the biggest move of the offseason, Kristaps Porzingis, he has only suited up in one game so far of this season. So we definitely need him back. So I would really like to see him hit the floor tonight, but I'm not sure how likely that is. If I had to guess, I mean, KP is probably the most likely to come back tonight, with Jalen and Zach both dealing with actual injuries. KP's dealing with illness, so we don't know how he's feeling. But I mean, and the videos the Hawks were posting, and really the vibes all around, I think KP probably has the best shot at playing tonight. But I mean, don't quote me on that, because you never really know with him. That's what Celtics fans have been telling us all offseason. Like, you never really know what you're going to get out of KP. But when he plays, he's a steady force. So we would like to see him play. I want him to continue to develop chemistry. I mean, you don't build chemistry by just sitting out these games, and because when he comes back, it's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment period. I mean, if he comes back against the Bulls tonight, it may take the offense like a half to go ahead and get adjusted, and that might be it might get Atlanta in too deep of a hole to come out of. As the game progresses, because this is once again, this is surprisingly a good Bulls team. Defensively, there's been some progress. The Hawks are 5th in opponent 3-point percentage and 9th in blocks per game, but they're still near the bottom in rebounds and points allowed. I mean, they're getting killed on the offensive glass, and that's not what you want to see. Atlanta's injury list once again remains that concern. Porzingis, Riza-Shea, Jalen Johnson, all questionable. Let's say hypothetically all three of those guys sit again. The Hawks bench is once again going to be pushed to its limits. I don't think all three are going to sit again, but once again, don't quote me on that. It's just based off of everything I've heard. The Bulls, building confidence, offense ranks middle of the pack statistically, but they've looked more cohesive behind their young core and improved ball movement. Josh Giddey's actually questionable for the Bulls tonight, so if he's not able to go, I mean, that's going to be a big loss for them. And honestly, that is going to be more of a loss for them than it would be for like if Atlanta was missing, a couple of their guys, because I mean, he's their point guard. He is the dude leading the offense, and he's done a great job of it so far this season. He looks comfortable there. It looks the best he's looked in his career, so that's going to definitely be a big loss for them if he can't go. And I would predict Atlanta to win if Giddey cannot go, but we got our own injury concerns to deal with. So I mean, what does Atlanta need to do to win? I mean, they've got to value possessions, because turnovers did kill them against OKC. There were other problems there, but they've got to take care of the basketball. Trae Young's done a good job of it so far this season, and he needs to continue on that trend and not do what he did against the Thunder. They've also got to keep the ball moving. I mean, they've got to attack in transition, pass with purpose. I mean, good shots will follow if you're playing quick. And, biggest, and it's going to be harder to play quick if you don't have guys like Jalen Johnson and Riza-Shea playing. But they still got to make that more of a focus in their identity, because, I mean, Toronto killed them in transition. I mean, OKC obviously killed them in transition. And number three, I mean, they've got to close out. I mean, Chicago's three-point efficiency has been a weapon early on. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they have been great from beyond the arc, and Atlanta needs to really close out with pace and efficiency. They can't afford another defensive lapse, because Chicago will run. They're going to play fast, and it's going to be a tough matchup for them. If they can bring that same fourth quarter intensity that they showed in Orlando, and a little bit of that first half intensity that they showed in OKC, and maybe you get a guy or two back, this could easily be a winnable game. It's just a matter of all of these things click. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. Atlanta sits at 1-2 on the young season, but there's a lot of basketball left to play. Plenty of reasons for optimism, but I also hear people out on their concerns, but I really advise people to not overreact to what they've seen through 3 games. This is a team with a lot of talent, and it's the third youngest team in the NBA, so it's going to take them time to get it together. Also, with players sitting out, it's harder to build chemistry. So let the season progress. It is a it's a long season. Really, at the end of the day, it's a long season. But there's a lot to be excited about. Asa Newell is killing it. Trae Young is being Trae Young, and he's definitely going to get it together pretty soon. And honestly, I expect him to have a pretty good game tonight against the Bulls because I don't really know who's going to guard him on that team. So we're going to be keeping an eye on how the Hawks respond tonight in Chicago for their first road trip of the season, and what adjustments Quinn Snyder makes as his roster gets healthy. Hopefully, the rotations are a little bit better. If we have some of our guys back, I don't know how many minutes I want to see out of Keaton Wallace, or I want to see Luke Kennard shoot the dang basketball. So once again, that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But let me know down below. I mean, what are your thoughts on today's matchup against the Bulls? Were you impressed with them over the weekend? What things you think they need to improve on? And what do you think out of Asa Newell? I mean, are you impressed with what he has shown so far in his young NBA career? I mean, just 3 games, and I mean, he has killed it. He's only played in 2 of them, and he's going to continue to grow in that role, especially if a guy like KP or Jalen Johnson cannot go tonight. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and I'll see you guys next time.